Hello and welcome to Activating Magic. I'm Darla LeDoux. I'm your host, and I'm here with Anne Hession. Welcome, Anne.
Hey, it's great to be here.
I am so excited to share Anne with you, her magic and her work. Anne is the woo-woo sales expert. So those of you who know me can imagine why I'm excited about that. She helps healers and solopreneurs who have amazing gifts but are allergic to sales. She created her own six-figure energy healing business very quickly. She sold millions in products and services, and she can help you confidently grow your business without feeling fake, pushy, or salesy. And we have a love for the same types of people. And, I'm so excited that I got to meet you and the way that you serve people, particularly with sales, because it's such a conflict sometimes for people inside to take money for their magic, as I would say. Talk a little bit about how you got into this.
Oh gosh, how long do we have? I I am an energy healer myself, right? I'm a medical intuitive. I got all the woo-woo going on. I've been doing that for decades. I've also always been somewhat entrepreneurial. Like I've liked the idea of having my own business. I've done a few different things. I was a massage therapist and directed a wellness center. But then, there came a time I was really trying to make a living doing kind of like coaching and healing work. And I was failing, right? Like, which is the case for most, healers and coaches. Most are not making a living doing the work that they love to do. I won't go into the whole story, but there came one of those moments of truth, and I just had to accept that I really was failing. It literally was a moment of like having to choose between getting gas versus feeding my kids. Right. Like one of those moments where like, this is not working. Like this has to stop. This has to change. And it gave me I don't know, the insight, the courage, the kick in the butt to realize that I was in denial about, how you get clients, because how you get clients is you have to do sales. You know, right?
How did you think you got clients at that
Well,
point?
I
Like,
think
what
a
was
lot
the
of people, I mean, like intellectually, I knew that, right? But in reality, I was in denial, which I think is where most people are thinking, like, as
Yeah.
long as you're just really good at what you do and you really care
Yes.
and you're like trying hard and you're working on your inner
Mhm.
stuff and clearing your money blocks and all that stuff. And I say that with all respect for, I mean, all of that's important and
Yeah.
you have to do that inner work, but the inner work is no substitute for the outer work. You actually have to learn to do sales. You have to learn how to talk with people about what you do, ask them questions, find out what they need, and when appropriate, invite them to work with you. That's what sales is.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, you will never have a business. And so I finally got straight with myself about that. And this was close to 20 years ago. What I did once, I finally like had the realization, right? So now what do I do with that? Because I kind of hated sales, right? And it just gave me, I did something kind of radical. I went and got a sales job.
Mhm.
I went and got a 100% commission only sales job.
Mhm.
I was like, if I have to learn this sales stuff, I'm gonna get paid to learn the sales stuff, right?
Yeah, like how did you think to do that? That's
I just,
amazing.
I just, like, it was just one of, like I said, I can't have another gas station moment like that. Right. Right. And I was like, I think I could learn this. And so I went and got a job doing sales. It was at a furniture store. I was like, I think I could do that. Right. I just threw myself all in as I did the training, I read books, and I started to realize that there were things about sales that I actually really liked. It really
Mhm.
is about connecting with people. It's about listening to people. It's about asking them questions. And it's about helping people solve problems, which I think is pretty cool. And so when you're doing sales like that, it's actually pretty awesome. I did that. I actually became one of the best salespeople. Then I went and got another job at this, like, kind of a whole other thing, like business programs and stuff like that. It was this company owned by a guy named Chet Holmes and Tony Robbins. And that was a whole nother level of skills. But I got really good at it. And the reason I share that is because it's not because I think most people listening want to become a salesperson and go work
Yeah.
for someone else and sell their stuff, right? But you do want to be able to sell your own stuff and get clients. You have to learn this. You really do have
Yes.
to learn it, right?
I
It's,
always say too, like if you have that skill, you will no matter what changes in the market, no matter,
yeah.
how things evolve, you will have money.
If you know how to sell, you'll always have income. Having said that, there are one of the things I learned, or I learned a lot of things over that was a journey of quite a few years. And one of the things that I learned was that there are a lot of ways to do sales that are totally aligned and congruent with all of my values and what matters to me. And there's also ways that sales is sometimes done and sometimes taught that's not congruent with that, that's not
Mm.
aligned, that I don't do. And like over time, I developed how I do it, which is, is heart-centered, as a lot of people say. And I really call it like soulful sales, right? That's
Yeah.
really coming from relationship first. It's from coming from always putting the relationship before the transaction, right? And it's actually coming from, I would say it's coming from like a more authentic female energy than the way the
Yeah.
stereotypical kind of outdated paradigm of sales that we think of when we just hear the word sales. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
You said, if I'm a really good person and I really care, it's going to work out. And that just really jumps out at me because I think that's true for so many people is thinking that it's just going to happen.
Mhm.
Before we move into a little bit more about how you work with your clients, if someone's in that place, what's one tip you would give them on top of being really good and really caring? What's one thing you would tell them to do? Maybe like put in their calendar or I don't know, what's your top advice?
I have a lot of stuff places, but here's a framework, actually. This is what I'll put it as, more than just a single tip. Okay. And it kind of gets into what I said before about there is that inner work, right? And that for those of you who are healers and coaches, we love the inner work, right? That's where we live. We're like, I'm going to just clear my way to success. I'm just going to clear another money block, clear another thing, right? And God, I wish I had a nickel for every time I've heard that from a healer, right? And on the one hand, yes, do that. You do have to do that stuff,
Yeah.
right? But like I said, it isn't a substitute for what I would call the outer game. So it's like there's
Yeah.
always the inner game and the outer game, and you
Mhm.
have to be doing both. So here's how I think about it. Think of it as the your path to actually succeeding and being paid and paid well for your amazing, amazing work. Think of it as like a staircase, okay, with a line down the middle. Okay. On this side is the inner work. We love it over here. We're like, I'm gonna clear another thing. I'm gonna meditate more. I'm gonna visualize. I'm gonna do a vision board. I'm gonna, switch a belief system. I'm gonna clear, right? Like we just love it over here. Okay. And then on the other side is the outer game. And that's where you actually have to be in action. You have to have the conversations, pick up the phone, learn the skills, learn how to do sales, learn some tech, learn some, right? It's that stuff. Okay.
Yep.
Some people are way more comfortable over here. Some people are like, mindset, mindset. That's just nonsense. I'm just going to tough it out and do it over here, right? But us, we look at over here. So here's what most people are doing. People like us, we're trying to go up the stairs on one leg. We're literally trying to jump up a staircase on one leg.
I love that analogy.
It doesn't work, and you're probably going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you embrace that, it's both. Now, whole different thing. Yeah, by all means, start with some clearing. Start with your strengths, right? Do some clear. But when you do that, and you shift a belief system, you shift a mindset, you clear some block, right? Now you're going to see some opportunity over here, right? Like an action that you could actually take. Like, maybe I could actually do that. And so you're going to do it. You're going to step out with that other leg, right? Take it, step up and maybe get some results and get some experience. And then that in of itself, what does that do? Because you went out of your comfort zone, drives up some more stuff to clear over here, doesn't it? So,
Right.
right. And it's stuff that wouldn't have or have come up for you to clear if you hadn't taken action. That's the other piece I want to say, right?
Totally.
Right. So then okay, I'm going to take another step over here. I'm going to do some work. Maybe, maybe have somebody do some work for me. Oh, God forbid that, we don't have to do it all ourselves. And then that opens up something over here. And that triggers more stuff to clear. And when you do it this way, there's literally no limit.
Yeah.
there's no limit to how many people you can help, the impact you can have, and the money that you make. But stop trying to go up the staircase on one leg.
I love that so much. I totally agree, right? Like when we get an action and we get feedback from the universe, that's the only way we know where we actually are. Like one of my mentors used to say, if you're dropped in the forest and you're given a map, but you don't know where you are in the forest, the map isn't helpful, right? We have like
No,
like GPS, you have to move and get a sense of where you are before you can know
before you
which
can do anything.
direction to go.
Yeah.
And I love the way that you put that with the staircase. And I'm thinking even another layer, you probably talk about this, is that could be motivation for people who love mindset work and personal growth, is like just go do anything
And it will
because
drive
you're
up
going to learn
something
so
new.
much
Exactly.
and
It
then you get to
will.
grow.
Yeah, and then also it brings up another thing that I like to speak to, because I think it's so important, is when you are these sensitive souls, right? We're the healers, the soulpreneurs, all of that stuff. Um, Self-doubt, self-worth issues, and so that all that stuff tends to be a very real thing that we have to deal with, right? And sometimes we'll have that experience of, oh, I thought I already healed this, or I thought I already, right? You know that thing,
Mine is my mother again.
right? Exactly, right. And so if that's ever, there for you, for anyone's listening, the one thing I want to say is don't ever doubt the healing that you did, because you did do it. And it's real, and that you really you didn't, like, it's not, oh, I guess I didn't. No, you did. And that is what got you here. Okay. And
Yeah.
the fact that, yes, that issue, that wound or whatever it is coming up again, because it's not linear, it's more like a spiral, right? Is
Mhm.
actually evidence that you've grown. It's evidence that you've been taking action and that you're committed,
Mm.
because now there's another layer of it that never would have
Yes.
become available for you to work on or clear if you hadn't actually stretched and grown and challenged yourself. And that is a much more empowering way to relate to it than like, oh, I guess I'm wrong. I guess I didn't. Right? No,
Right.
you totally did.
I love
And
that.
that got you here.
Random question that popped in, and I'm just going to trust you have some wisdom on it since it popped in. You talked about getting support or getting someone else to do the work. And as you were doing the latter, I was thinking a lot of times people go, the woo crowd, right? Will go like, oh, I'm not good at this
Mm-hmm.
marketing stuff. Let me
Mm-hmm.
hire someone. But they don't, maybe they haven't mastered sales yet. So they don't even really know what their clients want or how to talk about it. And then they're looking for someone. Any advice for this
Yeah,
audience on getting
I,
support?
I so do.
I thought you might.
And so, and I'll separate it a bit from the getting support piece, but I'll tie it back in. Okay. I think so many people, and it's not just healers and coaches, a lot of other people too, but I think us in particular, because they tend to be so resistant to the sales part, the part where you actually have to talk with people, that they get in this trap that I call it, you're trying to build your business backwards. So here's what I mean by that.
Mhm.
Trying to get clients through figuring out the marketing first before you even have any clients. And on the one hand, that might sound like, well, don't you have to do that first? And the answer to that is no, you don't. And even more importantly, you can't. It's not possible.
Mm.
Okay. The only way, so many people are like, they keep telling me I have to figure out my niche
I
first. I
need a
have
web page.
avatar. I have to get my message. I have to
Mm.
figure out, write my marketing message. I have to get all the figure. I have to put up a website, all of these things. And that just delays people for months or years from actually just having clients who would pay them, because they're thinking that they have to figure that out first, and also thinking that they can. And the reality is you can't. Okay. You cannot
Mm.
figure out a effective marketing message. You cannot figure out what should go on the website. You cannot figure out what people, need to hear to want to
Yeah.
work with you until you first actually just get some clients. Like, just get out there and talk with people and ask them questions and really listen to the answers and find out whether they become a client or not. Find out what it is that motivates them and what they're struggling with.
Mhm.
And over time, so first of all, some of those people will actually end up saying yes and becoming clients. Okay.
Yes.
even though you didn't have, I have a client who is making a good solid $5,000 a month. She still is doing energy healing work. She still doesn't have a website.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I
And
feel like we need to say that again.
yes. Okay. First of all, you will start to actually get some income because a website on its own doesn't get you anything. But also over time, as you listen to them, they will literally hand you your marketing message, right? They will give you the language
Yes.
that is what motivates them and what, has them wanting to take action. And it will be better than anything you tried to come up with in your own head.
Yes.
So stop trying to build your business backwards. It is actually sales first, then marketing. And once you know how to do the sales, then your marketing will be better. And any marketing you do that brings people, you'll actually be able to turn them into clients instead of you
Yes.
just spending money on marketing or time and effort on marketing. A few people come in and you don't know what to do with them. Right?
Totally. And I did the exact thing. And I had a coach, and my coach told me, don't do this. And I didn't listen. And you
Anyway.
know, I got a logo and I made a program and I did a whole page, and I decided I was going to launch this mastermind because I had seen everybody else launching
Mhm.
masterminds and sending emails, and they would send like the 5 emails and the
Mhm.
fifth email would say sold out. And I was like, oh,
Right.
wow, was it that easy? I'm going to do that. And I had no research. I had not worked with clients, maybe two.
Mhm.
Um, and I sat home in my office figuring out
Mhm.
what I wanted to sell. And I sent all the emails and nothing happened. Now I had,
Ouch. I'm
I don't
sorry.
even know how many people were on my list at that time. I did have a small list, but it was,
Mhm.
statistically, there was no way that was going to fill. And I just didn't know, even though my coach was telling me, I felt like I knew I could, you know, execute this. So anyway, I learned how to do all those things, but it got me zero clients.
Yeah.
And then I decided I'm going to listen to my coach.
Yes. Good one. I mean, and that's one, there's exceptions to every rule, but that's one of the reasons why I typically recommend that people do, even if you know you want to do groups, you want to do group programs. And I love doing group programs. I do
Yeah.
very little one-on-one coaching. It's almost all groups for me. But even if you know that's what you want to do, I still recommend you start with getting
Yes.
clients because it's like
Totally.
easier and you only need one yes for it to be worth your while. Whereas you're trying to run a group program and you get one yes, and that's all you get. Now you're running a
For
group program.
497.
Yeah. Right. So, I love to support people in creating group stuff, but it usually isn't the best place to start.
Let's talk a little bit about magic. For me, sourced magic is how your inner knowing works, or how source works with you and through you to create higher consciousness on the planet. So
Mhm.
I believe that all the healers are, sourced magicians. They're
Mhm.
bringing through sourced energy, and really learning to trust themselves, both in the set. And this relates to selling because obviously in the sales process, there'll be a point where a healer knows, can I help you or not?
Yeah.
And there's a knowing,
Mhm.
and maybe a recognition that this is my right client, that there's a match or a fit. And so to me, that's part of the magic. Like that's where the magic starts. And I guess I have a couple questions. I'm going to ask you about what you see with sales for in a minute, but first, how do you experience that for yourself? Like when you're working with a client and you maybe can see or know what's
Mhm.
really going on with them underneath, or what piece of the ladder they're missing. Like, how
Mhm.
does that work for you as a practitioner?
I think the most important thing, and this really is both about how sales works and it is also about how healing and coaching works,
Mm.
is that it is about really getting that it's not about you and therefore getting out of your own head because it's all the problems are in here. Really, right? The second
Yes.
guessing, what should I figuring out, what
Yes.
should I say next, and how do I know the right thing to say, and da da da. All of that is you not being connected with the other person,
Yes.
right? So whether it's a sales conversation or it's they've become a client and now you're working with them, the most important thing that has you be able to access that magic, because the magic's always available, we're just not always available to it, right? We don't always let
Mhm.
it in, is about getting that it's not about you and really being over there in the other person's world. And the most practical way to
Mhm.
do that, like the thing that you can always do that helps you get out of your own head, because let's face it, sometimes it's a battle getting out of your own head, right? Right? The thing you can always do is ask questions.
Mm.
When you ask questions of the other person and listen to the answer, it kind of automatically gets you out of your own head, at least part way. Like, you could still, there could still be some noise, right? But the noise gets quieter the more we're just really putting ourselves over there in their world,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And I like to say to people, I'm really like, this is something I might say in a sales conversation is something like, I'm really here to meet you where you are, help you figure out where it is you want to go, and help you find the best way to get there.
Mm. Yes.
None of that's about me, right? It's all about them. And also, when I say that to someone, they just relax because they're like, well, that sounds pretty great. You're not going to try to, you're going to meet me where I am. You're not going to try to like make me be somewhere else.
Yeah.
Nope. Right. But when you're in your own head, you're fundamentally trying to make the other person be somewhere they're not, because you
Mm.
can't be there with them. Right. So,
Ooh.
and you're gonna help me figure out where I want to go. That sounds good too, because I'm pretty confused about that. A lot of times people don't know what they want, right? And
Yeah.
then help you figure out how to get there. And so that really is the key. Like, to me, that's the access to the magic, right?
Totally.
There's no magic in here in this context. I'm not saying there's not magic, when we meditate or something like that. That's
Mhm.
not the kind of in here I'm talking about.
Yes.
Okay. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Like I well, first I want to say again what you said, so brilliant. If you're in your head, you're fundamentally trying to get them somewhere else because
yeah,
you're not present.
you're not present. You're
That's
stuck in
so
your own
good.
agenda,
And
right?
people are automatically going to resist someone trying to get them to be somewhere they're not.
Exactly. Exactly. And you can
That's
tell,
powerful.
you know when someone's like not really with you, right? We're very
Yes.
tuned into that as humans.
Yes. Well, so in my framework, there's 6 types of sourced magic, and all 6 are not in our head, right?
Exactly.
They're present, right? The different ways we experience things. And that just really I love that so much because I say, for you to be in your magic, you have to be present. And it's
Yeah.
not about you. So everything you're saying really lands for me. They can come from different places. So one of my goals is to give people permission to just trust how they're receiving what's true in the
Yeah.
moment. So as they're asking questions and they're getting something to respond to,
hmm
some people get physical sensations. Like,
Yeah.
do you ever get a physical like, oh, that's true, or I feel when they said that, I feel that I mean, I know you're an
Yeah.
energy worker, so
No, I am an energy worker. So yeah, sometimes I get the physical. I would say I'm more of a, if you look at all the, as we say, all the clairs, right? Okay,
uh-huh.
that kind of thing. A lot of times it's like a just knowing for me.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a physical.
Mhm.
I'm starting to hear things more, starting to get that clear audience thing going.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like because it changes, right? It's not very visual for me typically. But yeah, you just start to have that sense. There's like a calmness, right? That comes when you're allowing yourself to be in that flow, right? And be
Mhm.
in the moment. And again, you have to get out of your own head to do that. So the asking questions is such an important way to do that. And, yes, you should have questions, right? Like this is part of being prepared is you should
Mhm.
have questions that are helpful to help you understand better. I mean, just as an example, like if I have someone who's exploring doing energy healing with me, I have a whole bunch of questions, but and they're not like, I ask them things like, how did we get connected? Like how did you find
Mm.
if they're sharing something that's going on with them, I ask like, how long has that been going on?
Nice.
And what else have you tried? Like these are not rocket science
Yeah.
questions, okay? But they give me a lot of really great information to help me know whether, I could help this person, right? And it lets them know that I care and I'm paying attention and I'm, helping them. So, so the asking questions is a really key one. I think
Mhm.
another really key thing that I recommend is before, most healers and coaches probably have some kind of thing that they do, whether it takes 3 seconds or it takes 10 minutes, something they do before a session, right? To kind of
Mhm.
like ground themselves,
Yes.
set them intent, right? They may have
Mhm.
they do a prayer, whatever's there for them. Um, Highly recommend you do that before a sales conversation also, right? Take the moment to make
Yeah.
sure you're all in your body. Healers are very comfortable about 3 feet off the ground, right? So you want to make
Mhm.
sure you're like in your body, right? And feeling grounded and set an intention, like set in what is my intention for this conversation? And the intention, like I actually think the get the sale, right? Like that they become a client. It's a secondary intention. It's a
Yeah.
important intention, but to me, that's a secondary because other primary things have to be met first. That we're connected, that I feel like I understand where they are, and that I feel clear that I could help them, and they feel that,
Yeah.
so when those things are there, that's when that intention of, yeah, I want them to become a client kicks in. But like having that clarity coming in, having really just laid out your intention, that does so much for your ability to be present and access that magic.
I always say the goal is to have them decide if this thing is actually a priority.
That too, there's a whole training we could do on that. How often people mistake interest for motivation.
Yes.
But that's a whole other interview we could talk about.
Well, okay, so tell me more. So for you, there's this just knowing.
Mhm.
I'm feeling that's what I would call vibration magic. It's like just picking up the energy of it.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just right there.
You're being
Um,
present to what's present.
and I know some vibration magicians see energy or see auras or colors, or do you have any of that?
I don't typically like when I'm looking at someone, but some like I'm not like aware of that. I'm not
Mhm.
typically looking for that. Like if I'm having a conversation with someone, I do get visual stuff in other contexts, but I don't typically get it in this kind of context. It is more like feeling it in my body and just feeling. I think for me, I love that you're asking this because it's making me look more. I like feel the connection. Like I'm literally
Mm,
just feeling the, I'm feeling
mm,
it's like I'm here and there, and there's the in between, right? Between
mm,
us. And I'm like just really present to that. And that's where you can play, and that's where you can, create something new, because which is hard to do when you're stuck,
mm.
stuck here, because that's all about the past. So yeah, I
Wow.
think I'm very present to like the now and the connection and the flow of energy. And I actually teach this where I talk about that's the energetics of sales, like how you read the energy in a
Mm.
conversation.
What role do you think love plays in healing?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I really, it all comes down to that, doesn't it? I mean, I think it all comes down to
Mm.
that. I think, I don't know how deep and philosophical you want to get
I,
here,
I'm I'm here for it.
but again, it's all about now, right? It's all about just
Yeah.
being fully present in the moment. I think that's how healing happens. I have this little saying that healing is the triumph of love over fear, and it's the triumph of reality over the past, right? So when you can just be fully present in the moment, that's one of the things that I think is essential for healing. I think that when we're truly just present, love is always there. Like it just is. It's just that we're not present to it, but it's just there. Like if you're aware, then love is there.
Mm. It's beautiful. When you're speaking to the connection, right?
Mhm.
That's what I feel is like, okay, love is present and that this is a healing space and that we can do this and we can go there. And in
And
my frame,
that's possible in a sales conversation as well as in a healing
well, and
session.
I think there's, when people feel an example of that, I'm curious your thought, but like if they get a taste of it in the sales conversation, some part of them knows like, I need more of this.
Yeah. This is why I think of it as soulful. And I even kind of call it sacred sales, like what sanctifies the conversation and elevates it is that you're actually really there. right? You're
Yes.
bringing your whole self. You're not just, I
Yeah.
mean, you are playing a role in the sense that you have this is a conversation that has a purpose, which is to make a decision about something. That's really the purpose of a sales conversation. And you do have a role in that. You're the expert. You're the person who, has an understanding that may help this other person. Like there is a role there, right?
Mm,
But it's like you, the full human being you are, being in that role, as opposed to like just being in a little role and you're hiding who you
yeah.
are and sharing yourself, right? But when you're actually just fully sharing yourself with the other person, um, it really is, truly to me, it is like a pretty sacred, it is a sacred interaction.
Mm,
And
mm.
that's what's possible in sales, just like it is in, I've had sales conversations where, we're both crying at the end of it because we just so deep and, it's about taking a stand for them and all of
Yes.
that.
I'm thinking about what I call the presence and non-judgment and
Mm.
the love and the space, compassion magic. I have so many questions I want to ask you about this, because I'm imagining a lot of your clients have a lot of compassion magic. For me, when I started to realize that, like I was teaching a lot of content, but people were healing with the presence of not, non-judgment, whatever the content was. It was like there was this healing
Mhm.
happening. And so the more I realized that, the more I pulled back and left more space for that. And it's like, wow, this is fun, easy, light.
Right.
And people are getting amazing results, right?
Yeah.
And being able to apply the content because of like the both sides of the ladder. But to be able to do that is requires sales. So
Yeah.
it's like the healing might be, I'm just thinking about how often, you talked about people trying to get their marketing right or looking for content or something to teach or something that's like, amazing and brilliant that they came up with that's just theirs. And it's like, yeah, but just be with people. But to
Yeah.
be with people and support them reaching their goals requires that sales conversation.
Yeah, it does. And I think, we have so much negativity around sales, right? We have so much like you hear sales and it's, like I'll do that in exercises with people around like just spit it out, all the crappy about sales. It's like pushy, it's selfish, it's this, it's that, it's manipulative, and whatever. Like we have all those associations with sales. And that's a lot of what I try to I help separate that, right?
Yeah.
Because sales really is whatever you say it is. If you say sales
Mm,
is service, it's sales is commitment, sales is love, sales is compassion, sales is clarity, sales is,
fun.
if that's what you say it is, you still need some skills to do all that, but the context is what's decisive, right? And so that's a lot of what I'm helping people do is both switch that context, that's this side of the stairs,
Mm,
right? But then also learn the actual skills because you do need to know what to say. And I don't mean like a script, but you need to ask questions. You need to understand the flow. You need to understand that this is a decision process for people and the different parts that need to go into that so that you can help them and you can guide them through making a decision of yes or no, right? Whichever it is.
I want to go back to when you were an energy healer, not making ends meet, realizing it wasn't working. What was in your heart that had you become a healer to begin with? And, because you went through a lot of things to make it work and make it successful. And then you obviously have a huge heart for helping
Mhm.
others be successful in that field. What got you into it?
Into the energy healing work in
Mhm.
particular.
Yeah.
Um, it's a little hard to say because I'm on the one hand, I've probably been doing stuff that falls in that category since like the late 80s, but I wouldn't have called it energy healing back then, right? I,
Okay.
I I just didn't think of it that way. But it's always, just that woo-woo, that alternative, that spiritual, that mind body, the
Mm.
divine things shifting and changing, and
Like working with people one on one.
yeah. So I mean that whole approach to life, I guess I'm going to say,
Uh-huh.
right, is that's been going on for decades and decades.
Yeah.
And along the way, because I was a massage therapist for a while, and I didn't think I was doing energy healing when I was a massage therapist, but looking back, I
Mm.
was totally freaking doing energy healing.
Yes.
I'd be like, why are my hands doing this? Like, I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to go with it. And then I kind of got into more coaching. And again, so in that time of my life, which is really the gas station moment, was really more, I was trying to make it as a coach, but healings was more just kind of in the background of my life. But all of that is about, we just want to make a difference, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's like all anybody really wants in life is to know that they made a difference.
Mm.
And
So
I'm
just innate.
yeah, like I'm as motivated by that as I think everyone is. And those are the particular ways that I felt like I wanted to make a difference, is by coaching people. And
Mhm.
and then I really got into the energy healing side of things, more like about 10 years ago. So again, it had always been the background, but
Mhm.
I wouldn't have called myself an energy healer,
Yeah.
which I do now. And that actually came about through just getting connected to like one particular modality and like learning it.
Mhm.
And and then I was like, let's go, let's run with this. And along the way, I created a six-figure energy healing business, which
Mhm.
very few healers can say. And I wasn't even doing programs and stuff. That was just one-on-one sessions. I also worked. So there was kind of an interesting thing that happened. So I was doing energy healing. And then I was also doing sales because I had gotten good
Mhm.
at sales
Mhm.
for a company that actually trains and certifies energy healers. And so I was working for them. I was like their main salesperson. And that's, one of the first modalities that I get and that I got certified in. And I mean, I sold like $3.5 million worth of their stuff for them,
Wow.
right? So along the way, I've had well over 10,000 conversations with energy healers because of that, right? Um, so I'm doing that over here, and then having my energy practice over here. And I came to a point about 4 or 5 years ago where it's like it was great, but neither one was enough.
Mm.
That feeling like this isn't using enough of me, that kind of a feeling,
Mm.
right? And that is really when I had the idea of like, well, what if I just combined these two things and I created what is now my business, the
Wow.
Soulpreneur Success Code. And what if I taught healers and coaches who are allergic to sales how
Mhm.
to do sales? What if I made that my business? And that was January 2020, actually, is when I had that idea. And it just took off. Like there's such a need for it.
Yeah.
A need for, the world needs the healers, and the healers really need to get out of their own way. They really need to learn
Yeah.
how to talk about what they do. So it just completely took off. And it was such an interesting bringing together of the two sides of me until now what I'm doing is like I get to use all of that, right?
Mm.
Um, I'm not sure that answered your question. I might have like lost track of the question in the story, but
Yeah.
that is kind of
So,
how it all came about. And now I get to do something where when I'm working with people, I'm doing the inner work with them and the outer work with them always at the same time. So we're always doing this
mhm.
as opposed to being these like two different sides.
Right. I guess I'm wondering, is it like there's something so profound about energy healing for you that like we need to spread it? Is
Yeah,
it,
that I
yeah,
would say
I'm like,
And
I,
there's something profound about sales for me. Sales is what
Mhm.
makes the world. I'm going to speak to both, but
Yeah,
honestly, like sales is what makes the world go around. If you look at the people that have had the biggest impact on your life, and I don't mean like your personal relationships, but like your mentors, your teachers, how they had the impact was they sold you something,
yeah,
right? Like sales is like that
totally.
moment of truth place where the impact gets to happen, right?
Mhm.
So I really am kind of on a mission to like help people transform their whole relationship to
Yeah.
sales. And I am on a mission to get energy healing out into the world because I think it's so essential. Last year I created the Energy Healing Leadership Conference, which was really all about creating the future of energy healing because there's this huge wave of growth in the field. I feel like those of us who it really matters to, our stakeholders, we can't just ride the wave, we need to guide the wave.
Mm.
And there's legislative issues, there's the research that needs to be done, there's passing on
Yeah.
knowledge, and there is the business side, right? And that's my side, is like, because it doesn't matter if you have all these amazing new energy healers out there if none of them can make a living.
Yeah.
Right? So so that is
Mm.
a real passion of mine, is to help make energy healing available. And I really want to transform how healthcare is delivered in the world. And that's starting to happen. There's hospitals where, you can get Reiki or Qigong is, in the
Yeah.
hospitals, what they do. But there's still a long, long, long way to go to make it
Yeah.
available for everybody.
Well, and the more resources that energy healers have, the more influence, right?
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
beautiful. I guess my last question I bookmarked was this idea of taking a stand for someone and that really sacred moment in the sales conversation.
Mhm.
That's often what people are afraid of, right?
Yeah,
And yet
because
it's so beautiful.
yeah, I mean, I think people they're afraid to seem like they're being pushy or something like that, right? But when someone look, when if someone's fundamentally saying no, like they're really not interested, they're really not
Great.
interested.
Yeah. Receive that.
Fine. I'm just going to say it this way. It's their old usual pattern. It's the thing that holds them back in general in life. And you know that because you've been asking questions and they maybe even have told you that this is what holds them back. A really key piece there is what I would call getting permission, right? Like actually just saying to them, you said this, you say you want this, this is holding you back. Can I ask you a little bit more about that? Right? Right? That's you get permission, right? And then really helping them to see for themselves that this concern, this fear, whatever, is what's holding them back from what they really want in life. And offering to them, suggesting to them, maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the time when you drop that and you step into what you're seeing for yourself. And that's just one example, but that's
Yeah.
what I see when I say taking a stand. It's not about trying to convince someone to do something they don't want to do.
Yes.
It is helping them find the courage to do what they 100% want to do.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. And I know you have a gift for people around what's stopping them in sales, and we'll definitely put that link under the show notes, soulpreneursuccesscode.com/SCS.
Mhm.
Did you want to say anything about that
Yeah, sure.
or how you want people to find you?
Yeah. So that gift is from me as it's actually a training, and like it's called Sales Conversation Secrets, Heart-Centered Sales Made Simple. And it really will walk you through the fundamentals of what a sales conversation actually is. And the steps to it and it will in particular teach you the biggest mistake most people make when someone first expresses interest, when someone first says, "Oh, that's interesting," like, tell me more about that. I call it the tell me more trap. And it's a place where most people end up killing off what could have been a great conversation
Mm,
before it even gets started. And then it goes beyond that as well. But that's really, the
so
key first
good.
piece. If you can avoid that part of it, chances are you're going to get different results right away. So yeah, I encourage you to download that, and that is on the website, which is soulpreneursuccesscode.com. So go check it out, and I'd love to connect with you.
Thank you, Anne. Any parting words?
Yes, it really is. Remember all the stuff we've been talking about, about how it really is about you bringing yourself
Yeah.
to the conversation and just being present, which, let's be honest, that's not always easy. It's easy for me to say, oh, just be yourself. Well, sometimes just being yourself is like the hardest thing in the world to do, right?
Totally.
Because you're being triggered and you're afraid and what will they think and all that stuff. But like, do just take a breath, right? Give yourself a moment. If someone's asking, when do you charge or this or that, the other, and you're getting triggered, like, take a breath, take a moment, put yourself back in, bring yourself to the conversation. You always have you with you. Right? When in doubt, just ask them a question, right? Find out more about them. One of the things that you'll hear me say in the training that you're getting, the Tell Me More Trap,
Mhm.
is people are asking you to tell them more, and the trick is not that you need to tell them more. The real key is you need to get them to tell you more
Yeah.
about
Right.
them. And when you do that, you'll start to get connected. You'll start to relax and get back in your body and just really get to be with them. And that is where all the magic is, when you're actually just connecting soul to soul with another person.
Thank you, Anne. All right, everybody, go get that gift, and we'll see you in the next episode of Activating Magic. Bye, everyone.
Hey, everybody.